A fresh flashpoint in the Russia-Ukraine war debate, and it comes straight from Donald Trump. In a new interview with Politico, the U.S. president says it's time for Ukraine to hold an election, challenging Kyiv's wartime decision to suspend national voting under martial law. And Trump goes further, hinting that the delay risks undermining Ukraine's claim to be a functioning democracy. Trump praises Ukraine's resilience and bravery, but adds a stark warning. At some point, size will win, he says, pointing to Russia's advantages in manpower and scale. He insists he's not abandoning Kyiv, but suggests the battlefield math is shifting and patience of Washington is running thin. Ukraine hasn't held a presidential vote since 2019. Martial law, imposed after the 2022 invasion, has been repeatedly extended, making elections legally impossible. Trump argues that the war can no longer be used as a reason to delay. He says Ukrainians should have that choice, and that preventing a vote risks drifting away from democratic norms. Trump says there's another obstacle: Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky. In his words, the two leaders really hate each other, really a lot. He claims that level of animosity makes a negotiated settlement far harder than any conflict he's dealt with in the past. Trump touts what he calls his record of resolving long-running disputes, but says this one stands out because of the personal hostility between the two presidents. He calls the Russia-Ukraine war a conflict he would have settled quickly if he'd still been in office, describing it as something that should have been among the easier disputes to end. But in the next breath, he concedes this war is uniquely stubborn because of the leaders' tremendous hatred. The sharpest line, though, is about democracy itself. Trump says they talk about democracy, but it gets to a point where it's not a democracy anymore. The remark lands squarely on President Zelensky, whose presidential term expired in May 2024, but continues under wartime extensions. For Kyiv, the position is unchanged: no elections until martial law is lifted. For Trump, that position is now a target. Pressed on whether Ukraine should immediately go to the polls, Trump answers it's time. He frames it not as a criticism of Zelensky personally, but as a basic democratic requirement. And he gives no hint of whether he thinks Zelensky would win again. The point, he suggests, is the vote itself, not the outcome. Behind the quote sits a wider strategic shift. Trump signals frustration with prolonged negotiations, hints at battlefield realities favor Moscow, and pushes Kyiv to restore electoral legitimacy. It's a three-way pressure point: military, political, and diplomatic, all delivered on an international stage. And with the war grinding into its next year, Trump's comments inject a new round of debate over what comes next for Ukraine, its democracy, and the negotiations that still show no sign of breakthrough.